rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. Oh, my gosh. Well, first of all, I just want to say, I try to do this all the time, but apparently I'm not sure if I do it enough. But if it wasn't for you, meaning all of you that are out there watching right now, especially my Whiskey Warrior P1s, man, let me tell you, I wouldn't be here. I'd get bored probably and leave. The interaction, believe me, it's not fun to sit and try. I enjoy talking to myself because it's the best conversation that I'll ever have. But the reality of it is after a little while, you do tend to get a little bored because you're always agreeing with yourself. And there's never any spice in the thing. So, anyway, it's because of you. It's because of you guys, that I am here, that I keep doing this every single weekday and Saturday nights. It's because of you guys that I am here. So, anyway, so I do appreciate it. And I got to be honest. I mean, Mrs. Whiskey, when I first kicked this off and started doing this, Mrs. Whiskey was a little, shall we say, less than enthusiastic about this. And of course, because she was less enthusiastic about it, I was really debating on whether or not it was going to continue. But I got to tell you, after doing this for 5 years now, and because of all of you, she has come around, and she now, appreciates all of you and what you guys do essentially for me, which of course makes me appreciate you guys even more. You know, one of the things that and I didn't mean to talk about this, but I'm going to anyway, just because it's my show. So there you go. One of the things that I always keep telling, not only myself, but I keep telling people who are part of my inner circle, one of the things that I never, ever, ever want to do is I never, ever, ever want to get to a point where I am thinking that I am better than anybody else because I'm famous or rich or both. I never want to get to that point. And the reason being is because if, and again, this is a big if, because, I mean, let's face it, not everybody makes it, especially in this particular genre, but not everybody makes it. But if they do make it, that it is all 100% all because of you. It's all because of you guys. That's right. You guys right there. I'm pointing to you. That's right. You watching. It's all of you. And it's because of the fact that you guys come back every single day. Every single time that I do this with. I mean, even, there are some people who have said things like, hey, I'm sorry I missed last night, or I missed the other day, or I missed. Hey, look, you guys are busy. You guys are all busy. The fact that you are giving up an hour or an hour and a half or even 15 minutes of your extremely valuable time to come here and watch me just essentially tell you about a bunch of stuff that you honestly could probably already figure out for yourselves is a testament to the fact that you are handing me something that is very valuable. And I treasure that. You're handing me your time, which is very precious. And so, yeah. I am just a small fish in a very big pond, and all of you are much more important in terms of your time being extremely valuable and everything else. So, yeah. Dave Cheney over on Facebook. Yes, I do know that he is running for Congress for Florida's 5th congressional district. I still keep in touch with Hannah sometimes through Facebook, and she mentioned it. She said that he was running. So yeah, I wish him well. I honestly do. I don't know, I know that he. Well, whatever happens between the two of us or between us is personal, so I'm not even going to go down that path. But anyway, the point that I'm making is that as far as I'm concerned, you all are the most important ones. I'm just here as a figurehead. I mean, yes, I put all of this together and put a lot of work into it and everything else, but if this wasn't here, and I wasn't doing this, I mean, you guys would have other things that you could definitely put your time and effort into that would be, much more important than coming here. So I am extremely grateful for your time here. So anyway. All right, enough about that. Let's go ahead and get this thing kicked off. Tonight, on the top of the... for the, I don't know what the heck happened with Facebook feed died. There we go. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight is Pops McGroin. And yeah, I offer an American perspective. I like that. Thanks, Ms. D. But anyway. Let's get Pops McGroin and partner up for the Pledge of Allegiance. So please, if you are of mine, stand, remove your hat. If you're wearing one like me, place your hand over your heart and follow along with Pops and his partner as they recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
All right, and I thank you, Pops, and your partner for providing us with that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style, and then take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. Send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And tonight's Saturday, so I am drinking the rest of the Knob Creek party. Oh, there's a little droplet in there. I'll probably have to grab that after the show, but yeah, the rest of it is in this fabulous, wonderful, spectacular gift that I got from my Whiskey Warrior P1s, where it says it takes stones to drink with whiskey, and of course there is the requisite stones in the bottom of the glass. There they are, right there, and it is a fantastic glass too. I'm going to hang on to, believe me, I will be hanging on to this. If this ever breaks, I'm going to be so disappointed. But anyway. Yeah, I poured it a little early tonight, so it's a little warmer than usual, but that's okay. That's okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get the headline sponsor out of the way. Tonight's sponsor, it's Saturday, so of course it's IOTC. It's the Institute on the Constitution, which was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, to sign up. And while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content, to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online. Or if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, head on over to constitution.americanperspective.online. Take a look at this wonderfully made product. It's an 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. Stitched all the way through the pages and the leather binding. Take a look at that. That is just fantastic. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if there is a problem with this, you can send it back to the manufacturer within that time, and they will either fix it or replace it for free. It has sexy rounded corners, according to my Whiskey Warrior P1s over on Rumble. Sexy rounded corners. I got to say it right. Ms. T had to put it in there that way. Anyway, it is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved. My youngest Whiskey Warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you study for and achieve your civics badge in Scouts. Not to mention, you can probably pass your civics test if you actually still have those. Anyway, it is Democrat repellent for sure. And apparently G is now telling us that we need to take Gorilla Glue and Gorilla Glue this to a lib's hand. I don't know if I would necessarily want to put that into their hand and Gorilla Glue it. I mean, that's a waste of a good Constitution. Let's just put it that way, or a copy of the Constitution, I should say. Anyway, head on over to constitution.americanperspective.online and get yours today to help support the show. And also, don't forget to check out the rest of the Institute on the Constitution's offerings, as they have a lot of fantastic, wonderful products. I'm waiting on my 250th Declaration of Independence Instructor's Manual. Yes, I'm waiting on it. It's coming. It'll be here next week. Anyway, go and check out the Institute on the Constitution today. And I do appreciate them for being, or for allowing me to be an affiliate of theirs. All right. Well, tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of the attempted assassination of Donald Trump on the 13th. 1 year ago. And I don't know, I know I didn't talk about it on this program, but apparently 6 Secret Service agents were suspended, probably indefinitely. I didn't really read the article. I just sort of was like, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But anyway, yeah, it was 1 year ago tomorrow, so we are on the eve of that event. That there are still liberal, well, I say liberal, I mean leftist. Whenever I say liberal, I mean leftist. Because a true liberal wouldn't be in the Democrat camp for sure. But as far as the leftists are concerned, there are still leftist morons who think that it was some made up crap that Donald Trump did. And again, I don't know why I'm so like flabbergasted over this so much, because the leftists, they're just like, they're evil. They're evil, sick, twisted, disgusting people. Those leftists are. And, yeah. Anyway, well, one of the SoFace, I'm sorry, I stole that from Ben Shapiro, although he usually used that for AOC, but AOC is no longer SoFresh or SoFace. anymore. AOC, have you noticed that? Have you noticed that AOC has sort of like faded into the background? Not too many people are actually talking about her, even though she is still trying to get, you know, where we are going with it. And yeah. Anyway, I got something for about Jasmine Crockett and a couple other things, but I just got reminded by another longtime Whiskey Warrior P1 that I'm off track. So I got to get back on track. Here's the first segment of the night. Let's go ahead and deal with on this day in American history. See, you guys, you keep me on my toes, keep me on track. You know, if I actually had a producer, it probably would have, she or he probably would have hit me over the head by now. Anyway, let's go ahead and read from the American Patriots Almanac, written by William J. Bennett and John T.E. Cribb. It is chock full of all kinds of factoids and information. Take a look at that. We're about halfway through, almost. About halfway through the book, chock full of all kinds of factoids and information about this great country that we call home. Here on July 12th, let's talk about Jane Thomas's ride. No, that is not a, sorry, but that is not a, no relative here. Anyway, July 12th. In the summer of 1775, as the Revolutionary War got underway, patriots in the foothills of western South Carolina organized to fight for independence. The frontiersmen called themselves the Spartan Regiment, after the ancient Greek city-state famous for its warriors, and they chose their leader, Colonel John Thomas, a sturdy Welsh pioneer. Even after the British captured Charleston, overran much of the state, and threw Colonel Thomas in prison, the Spartan Regiment refused to give in. In July 1780, John Thomas's wife, Jane, was visiting her husband at the settlement of 96, where he was confined, when a conversation between several loyalist women caught her ear. One of them mentioned that Loyalist forces were planning a surprise raid for the next night against a Patriot camp at Cedar Springs. The information startled Jane. It was the place where her son, John Thomas Jr., now in command of the Spartan Regiment, was organizing his men. Realizing there was no time to lose, she started out early the next morning, July 12th. It was 60 miles to Cedar Springs, but Jane Thomas, who was about 60 years old, pushed her horse through the enemy-infested backcountry. By evening, she had reached her son's camp. John Thomas Jr. wasted no time. The Patriots built up their campfires and slipped into the woods. The Loyalists soon arrived and rushed into the camp, expecting to find the hapless rebels asleep in their blankets. Instead, they met a sharp volley of musket balls. In the light of the campfires, they made easy targets for the Patriot backwoodsmen. The Loyalists retreated, leaving behind several dead. Thanks to Jane Thomas, the Battle of Cedar Springs helped launch a resurgence of Patriot fortunes in South Carolina and brought a much-needed boost in morale. And that is tonight's On This Day in American History. You know, it's amazing that a lot of people, the unsung heroes that oftentimes don't get rewarded or recognized for all of their work, happen to be the women that were married to these amazing and pioneering men who decided to take on the entire British Army. Essentially, well, not the entire British Army, but a good portion of the British Army. And so, yeah, it's definitely, you know, something that we need to recognize, that it was not just the men, but also the women who are out there for them. So anyway, where was I? Oh, yes, I was talking about Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett, who is the new So Fresh, So Face. Yeah. Anyway, she apparently was on some sort of a podcast or something along those lines. Oh, I'm sorry. She was speaking to the former Daily Show comedian Hassan Minhaj. Yeah, anyway, she said something really, really stupid. I mean, just like utterly stupid. She said some stupid stuff before, but this is even more stupid than her stupid stuff. Let's go ahead and take a listen here real quick. Because yeah, this is just, anyway, take a listen.
The violence doesn't come from Democrats, just to be clear. I mean, obviously anyone can be a criminal, but it is MAGA. It's specifically MAGA faction. Like, I don't think traditional Republicans are getting engaged in all of this, but like, even when we look at, and they don't talk about the assassination attempts anymore that took place with Donald Trump, but these were Trump supporters, right? As well as this most recent situation, they tried to flip it and say, oh, the leftists are, I'm like, this doesn't even make sense, right? But it's only like MAGA that does this.
It's only MAGA that's the violent ones, really? No. The two guys that were the attempted attacks, starting with the one in Butler, Pennsylvania, that young gentleman was not in any way, shape, or form a Trump supporter. Yes, he registered Republican, but Pennsylvania allows people to register for the other party. And he was nothing. He was not MAGA. He wasn't even close to being MAGA. And the other guy was also not MAGA. And who is the ones that are running around right now attacking ICE? Oh, wait. And attacking them with bricks and, even shooting at them like the one in California. Who is that? Oh, yes, that's right. The left. That's the left. Who is the most common? I mean, the only one right now out of the vast majority of the violent encounters across this nation in the last, let's say, 12 years. I can only think of one in particular, possibly two, that it's kind of questionable because we don't know the full ramifications in terms of what their political backgrounds are. I mean, the last guy in Minnesota, they tried to blame it on the Republicans. They tried to blame it on the right-wingers, but there hasn't been enough proof either way. And so we can't really say that he was either left-wing or right-wing. He didn't really seem to be anything other than just a deranged individual, which occasionally that happens. You got to have a little bit of a screw loose in order to go and want to kill somebody. So, yeah. Anyway, they are so delusional. They're so lost. They are increasingly lost and delusional in this whole particular scenario because they seem to believe that these people are, that the people that are causing the violence are MAGA. They're not MAGA. They're not even close to being MAGA. I don't even think there has even been, like I said, a recent event where a true proven MAGA person was actually there doing the violence, because MAGA understands that when you resort to violence in a political scenario, what ends up happening is you've already lost, and we're not ready to go there yet. Well, as I mentioned in the top of the program, the start of the program, it's 1 year after the attempted assassination on the 13th. That'll be tomorrow. There was a resolution. House Republicans are pushing a resolution to condemn political violence. Oh, gee, wait, I thought the right was the violent ones. Uh-huh. Yeah, well, yes, he is a Republican, but Representative Mike Kelly and the Republican Study Committee Chairman August Pfluger explicitly denounced the multiple attempts on Trump's life and calls on the American people to unite against violent rhetoric aimed at public officials. Oh, gee, you think maybe Hakeem Jeffries and his extreme MAGA Republicans? He always says that. If you ever listen to him, that's what he always says, extreme MAGA Republicans. Yeah. Anyway, Kelly, by the way, sorry, I'm looking. The dog got into something. Anyway, the extreme MAGA Republicans are what Hakeem Jeffries calls us, and apparently we are the ones that are standing here trying to condemn this type of violence. Anyway, Kelly, of course, represents Butler and was present at the rally when the assassination attempt occurred. So, yeah. Anyway, Kelly and Pfluger said in a joint statement, "We must stand up together to oppose violence against our nation's leaders and condemn the hateful, divisive rhetoric that has fueled our nation's political dialogue in recent years. This weekend, as we remember the tragic events in Butler 1 year ago, may we also take a moment to honor our heroic first responders who selflessly ran toward the danger to protect our fellow Americans. May we unite around the common good of these United States. We are stronger together." The resolution, of course, honors Corey Compatore. I think that's how it's pronounced. Who was a volunteer firefighter and a U.S. Army veteran who was fatally shot while shielding his family, along with rallygoers David Dutch and James Copenhaver, who were critically injured in the attack. It expresses gratitude to law enforcement, first responders, medical personnel, and affirms the central role of the U.S. Secret Service in protecting the nation's top elected officials and upholding constitutional values. So, anyway. In addition to the Butler attempt, the resolution also references the second attempt targeting Trump at West Palm Beach on September 15th, as well as attacks against Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Minnesota State House Speaker Melissa Hortman, who was killed, and Minnesota State Senator John Hoffman. It warns that continued calls for violence and divisive rhetoric. I got a rhetoric or rhetoric, however you want to pronounce it, risk undermining the democratic process and endangering the lives of public servants. It's supported by dozens of House Republicans. It has been sent to the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee for consideration. Now, keep in mind, all this is doing, this is just this isn't making a law or anything else. It's just a resolution. Just something to sit there and, say, yeah, we resolve. It's a kind of a formal declaration, if you will. Well, some on the left, and I don't mean the extreme left, but some on the left are actually realizing that we may have gone way too far. For an example, J.P. Morgan Chase and Company CEO Jamie Dimon said on Thursday this week he blasted the Democrat Party for being too devoted to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Dimon said, "I have a lot of friends who are Democrats." I agree with this one. "And they're idiots." I always say they have big hearts and little brains. Wow, is he right about that one? Anyway, he says they do not understand how the real world works. Almost every single policy rolled out failed. The JP Morgan chief executive has said that too many American companies focus too much time and energy with DEI, and that the banking company he led would pull back its focus on those topics. Diamond said they overdid DEI, and he refers to himself, by the way, as barely a Democrat. He also added that we are all devoted to reaching out to the black community, Hispanic, the LGBT community, the disabled. We do all of that. But the extent, they got to stop it. They got to go back to being more practical. Democrats, meaning the Democrat Party, he says, is very ideological. So, yeah. Diamond also pointed out that former President Joe Biden didn't have one business person advising him and that he was speechless about the lack of knowledge in the administration. Well, the reason why there was a lack of knowledge is because Joe Biden wasn't the one in charge. Anyway, Diamond continued and said, this guy just got elected. He's more of a Marxist, meaning talking about Zohran Mamdani. Anyway, he's more of a Marxist than a socialist, and now you see these Democrats are falling all over themselves saying, well, he's pointing out some real problems, affordability, housing, and grocery prices. Diamond said, okay, maybe. And then he continued and said, there's the same ideological mush that means nothing in the real world. Yeah. Yep. So, even the Democrat Party folks are starting to say we went too far. And polling, of course, keeps that up. You know, I don't know. The Democrats have been like really into polling and everything else, but the polling is showing that Democrats, and especially going after these pie in the sky, crazy ideals, is just even worse. So whatever Democrats are doing, well, according to Blaze Media, it ain't working. And polling is revealing this. Voters actually think that the Democrat Party is, quote, woke and weak. So here's just a few of the polls. Marquette Law School poll, published in May, revealed that 63% of Americans hold an unfavorable view of the Democrat Party. Polling by The Economist and YouGov indicated the disapproval rating of the party as a whole was 58.3% as of May 25th. An NBC News Decision Desk poll released in mid-June revealed that 57% of voters held an unfavorable view of the Democrat Party. The party's radical messaging on illegal aliens and deportations certainly didn't help its cause, given that the majority of Americans actually support Trump's handling of immigration and border security. And there's a new poll conducted by the Democratic Super PAC Unite the Country and obtained by the outlet The Hill. Enthusiasm within the party continues to fade and disenchantment is spreading. That particular poll, which was conducted in 21 battleground counties. Where is he? Anyway. Democrat counties across 10 battleground states found that Democrats' emphasis on fighting for democracy, empty signaling that clearly did not help them in November, is not doing the trick. Yeah. So, yeah, voters also regard the Democrat Party as out of touch. Democratic strategist Rodel Molyneux, senior advisor to the PAC, said, this is the reality of the perception of us as a party, and until we accept that, it's going to be hard to move forward. There's a perception out there, outside of Democratic elites, and it's taken hold in not just the MAGA crowd, but within the people that should be with us. So, yeah. Anyway, the majority of Americans believe that the Republican Party best represents the interests of the working class and the poor. I'm hoping that all of this is true. I really am. I'm hoping that all of this is actual, like, true to the reality of the polls. That, you know, because we know polling is sporadic at best for it to be accurate. I really hope that these are accurate. I really hope that these polls are essentially showing these moron Democrats that realistically, yeah, you guys are way out of touch with the American people. You always have been. But anyway, I digress. All right, let's go ahead and talk about, let's see, who's the one that gets me? Okay. Go ahead and talk about Rumble Premium really quickly here while I take a quick break. So this particular sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought that platforms would actually censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook itself admitted that they fell to pressure from the Biden-Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us, the small creator, a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media by governments like France, from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with the brand advertisers. They don't get much brand advertisement money. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight, and if you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO, that's STUDIO, when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium. And for those of you that don't know, the / is the question mark key on the keyboard, okay? Go to rumble.com/premium and use the promo code STUDIO to get $10 off when you purchase an annual subscription. Once again, go to rumble.com/premium. Use the promo code STUDIO, STUDIO, to get $10 off when you purchase an annual subscription. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, that's okay. We're just happy if you watch us on Rumble. All right. So the title of tonight's show is that it's the deep state is not just, you know, a lot of people think of the deep state and they think, they think of the deep state, they think of it as this, you know, upper echelon of people, sort of like the Illuminati in a way. You know, this upper echelon of rich, powerful people. They get together, they sit down at this table, and they direct things in a certain way. Well, that's not really what the deep state is. The deep state basically is a bunch of hive mind-like morons that are all in key positions, as well as their underlings in places around the government. They are all part of the government bureaucracy that our country has turned into. See, our country was never meant to be run by bureaucrats. Our country was meant to be run by congresspeople that could get voted out, that had accountability to the people. But because of time and because of changes in philosophy and changes in presidents, some presidents, socialist presidents, people who are, you know, they think of the American government and the presidency in particular as the not necessarily the king, but as of the head of state. They think of the presidency as though it is the pinnacle. And that's not actually the way our Constitution was written. Congress is the one that actually has the most power when you look at things. It's sort of shared, actually, between Congress and the presidency by the separation of powers, but the president is only enacting the laws that Congress writes. The president only enforces the laws that Congress writes. That's all the president is supposed to do. He or she does not have the power to just grant or write things and just speak them into existence. If you recall, Obama said that he didn't actually need Congress, that he could basically rule the country through a phone and a pen, with the idea that the executive order was the way to run the country. And he wasn't the only one. Woodrow Wilson actually had that same general idea, that the presidency was the pinnacle of the power. And it actually isn't supposed to be that way. The Congress is the one that has the power because the Congress creates the laws. The president is only supposed to follow whatever Congress writes, with the one true exception being in terms of being in charge of our military forces. But even back when the Constitution was created, our founding fathers abhorred the idea of having a standing army, which is part of the reason why they created the Second Amendment as a part of it. So, again, Congress is supposed to be the ones reportedly in charge. However, throughout time, Congress has handed over their power and has consistently done this over to the bureaucracy that has been connected to the executive branch. Now, fast forward to today. Today, some State Department staffers were laid off. And, well, they had some choice notes that they've left for government, within government. I think I know what he's... Hang on just a second. I'm going to mute you for a second. Sorry, I'm yelling at the dog. Give me a second. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think I know what he did, and that's not going to be too happy. Anyway. All right. Anyway, as I was saying, the staffers decided to leave some notes behind for some of their colleagues. Here's an example of one of them. Resist fascism. They posted that in the bathroom, apparently. Yeah. Like, Anyway. That's not the only one, too. There were some other ones. So here's the resist fascism one. Oh, let me back this off. So here's the resist fascism one. Well, we also have this one, where this one says, "Here sat America's experts on democracy." Really? No, you didn't. Anyway, human rights, yes, which includes women, LGBTQ+, and minorities. Election security, freedom of expression, privacy, on countering corruption, violent extremism and disinformation, and more. You've just released them and hundreds of their colleagues into the wild, into the United States of America. Yeah. Let's see. There was another one also, too. There's a couple other here. It says, history will remember what was lost here. Yeah, nothing's lost. Oh, and then somebody posted a positive note. You have saved so many lives. Yeah. You have saved so many lives. It says, here's this one that says, if you say you love freedom but don't care if it applies to everyone, then what you really love is privilege. Yeah. So anyway, the problem is not so much the people at the top, but it's also the people in the bottom, the people actually entrenched in the bureaucracy that are the issue. And even further, there was a report that came out. You remember John Brennan and his, promoting and authoring or promoting the Russian hoax, the Russian collusion hoax. Well, apparently he had some people underneath him that are still working at the CIA. In fact, they were promoted after authoring the Russian hoax. So, yeah. Telling you folks, this is... Ugh. Okay, you guys, I'll be right back. You can see the water on my shirt here because that dog flipped over the water dish and I didn't see it, and I slipped and fell into the... Anyway, he's in his kennel now. All right, for the time being until I get done. All right, where was I? Oh yeah. So Brennan, Clapper, Comey, they all manipulated the intelligence and caused all kinds of problems. But it's the underlings as well who are still a part of the situation that we have to deal with. And so this is what I'm talking about, is that, essentially this is what I'm talking about, is that we need to understand that the deep state is not just the top people. It's not just the top folks. It is also all of the bureaucracy, all of the leftist bureaucracy, which happens inside of the DC area. We all know how DC itself is in such a mess right now that, you can't even get a fair trial in DC because it's so filled with Democrat, hive mind, anti-American people who are there. And I'm not calling everybody there this, But I am saying that this is the danger. This is the big danger of having a large, overarching, bureaucratic-run government. This is one of the things that our founding fathers wanted us to stay away from, was this entire situation. And so anyway, yeah, I just wanted to have a wet t-shirt contest. Anyway, so yeah, this is just a bit of a mess. Just a bit. It's actually a large mess. And we need to get rid of these bureaucrats who are here in the I'm telling you, we need to shrink government down. That is our only necessary path out of this entire deep state nightmare. Is we need to get rid of the bureaucracy that has grown up over all of the that has grown up over the many years that we've been here. We need to get the federal government back within its constitutional boundaries and get back toward the originalist idea of federalism for this country. And just showing you what these people are doing as they're leaving. They're putting up these posters that fight fascism. Resist fascism. There's no fascism going on here, people. I don't even know why the left seems to think that Donald Trump is a fascist. He's not. He's not even close. The people who were closest to fascism was the past administration, not this one. We need to get rid of the idea that government is supposed to be the answer to everything and that larger and larger government is the answer to everything. It's not. It's not anywhere close. And these people, unfortunately, these bureaucrats, which I'm glad that the Supreme Court did say, hey, you can shrink government if you want, Donald Trump. That's the way, that's part of your job. I'm glad the Supreme Court is actually coming down on the side of Donald Trump on all of these kinds of things. We need to get rid of these bureaucrats. We need to get rid of the long-term bureaucrats, especially the long-term bureaucrats who have basically usurped the Constitution and have not put back on Congress their responsibilities. Their responsibility. Congress is the one who is supposed to have control over DC. Congress is the one who is supposed to have control over the laws. If the president enacts something that isn't correct, or, doesn't fit within your idea of the laws, write better laws. Write precise laws. Write specific and precise laws. That's what you have to do. I mean, John Brennan is just an example of this. It's the underlings, the people under him that went along with it because they basically were, they're either morons, 100% morons, or they agree with the entire thing and they go along with it because they know they can agree with it. This is ridiculous. We need to get rid of the idea that the federal government is your mama. The federal government is not your mama. You want your state government to be your mama? Go ahead. That's part of federalism. The federal government is supposed to be small and specific in nature. That's why the 10th Amendment was written. That's why anything that is not part of Article 1, Section 8, or specifically as a part of the Constitution itself that is specified for the federal government to do it belongs to the states or the people. So, there you go. So the sources at the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, which authored the ICA, found that the ICA is significantly worse and significantly more corrupt than was conveyed in the CIA report. The outlet reported that some of Brennan's collaborators who helped author the faulty report were even promoted. Efforts to clean up all federal agencies, including the CIA, have taken longer than most Americans expected, partly due to the restraining orders issued by those activist judges. Given that Brennan's alleged collaborators remain entrenched within the agency, the newly announced investigation may prove futile, as they are likely to suppress evidence for self-preservation and shield their former boss. Subsequently, cleaning the agency should have preceded the inquiry. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Donald Trump should have gone in and just like cleaned house, the entire house, cleaned out pretty much everybody. And unfortunately, yeah, that's not quite the case right now. So it's not only the people at the top, the names that we know, but it's all the underlings and the people and the names that we don't know that are the ones that are the problem. Okay. All right. Let's see. You know what? Before I get on to my next story, I have another Highlighting America segment for tonight. I want to take a minute to send out an applause to these people, to a lot of people who are unsung heroes in the medical field, in the medical world. There's a lot of people who go and donate their time and more often donate their blood or other medical requirements a lot of the time totally selflessly for the most part. They go, they spend their time, they give up things like blood and platelets and all kinds of other important things that cannot be manufactured, and they do it out of the goodness of their hearts. And it's these types of people who are oftentimes unsung heroes. We have one of those unsung heroes with us tonight. We have one within our midst. And let's go ahead. I got to bring him up. Hold on. We have one of those unsung heroes tonight. There he is. There he is. This is 3 Chevy. 3 Chevy has spent, and I don't know how many times I've seen him be like, hey, I went and donated X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. In this particular place, he went to the blood bank and he gave a platelet donation. Now, he has mentioned multiple times how many gallons, yes, folks, gallons of blood and platelets that he has donated. And I got to tell you, as a person who is generally is adverse, is the best way to put it, is adverse to doing things like this, I got to applaud you, man. I really do. So 3 Chevy sent me this photo a couple of days ago. Now, the reason why he sent it, of course, is because he happens to be wearing a American Perspective logoed shirt, which looks great, because he makes the shirt look good. But that's not the reason. I mean, that's not the reason why I'm putting it here. So here's what he wrote to me. He goes, "Hey, Rick, I wore your shirt to the blood bank today when I made my platelets donation." He goes, and he describes how this works. He's like, you sit there for about 2.5 hours as they pull blood out of one arm, remove the platelets, and then return the rest of the blood plus some saline back into the other arm. And he tells me platelets are used for things like burn victims, transplant patients, and most of all, for cancer treatments. And then he says it's a good excuse for laying around all day doing nothing. Well, it's just, you are providing, good sir, you are providing a service that not very many people are either willing or able to actually do. And so I got to give you props. I got to give you an applause. I got to say congratulations to you for all of the things that you have done. This is just, you are a hero to a lot of people, and they don't even know your name. They don't know anything about you. And so this is what America is all about, is helping others without any real attempt at, giving thanks or getting thanks or any of this other stuff. He just comes in, he does what he does, and quietly goes in and takes care of business and then quietly leaves. And so for that, 3 Chevy, we salute you here on the American Perspective, Highlighting America segment. This is, you are doing a wonderful job. And I know that you have, again, you donate all the time. You put in all kinds of effort, and you've done it multiple times. Because like I said, he's literally told us how many gallons he has donated over the course of the years that he's been doing this. So hat tip, props off to you, man. Gotta say thanks to all of that for you. All right. Well, now that, a lot of things are over with, one of the things that a lot of these people do is they go and they will come out with all the tell-all books. I mean, you saw Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper did his tell-all book. Oh, and by the way, 3 Chevy just said it's going to be 33 gallons by the next time that he goes. In the next time that he goes. I mean, that's just fantastic. Anyway, so all of these tell-all books have come out. You saw Jake Tapper's tell-all book about the Biden decline in mental. And so, that kind of stuff. Well, there's a new book out that is revealing how, because a lot of people like me are sitting here wondering, how do you take the worst vice president in modern American history and find somebody who is even worse than she is? I mean, that's basically what happened in this Democrat attempt to stay in office back in 2024. And so basically this book is 2024, How Trump Retook the White House and the Democrats Lost America. So this book has talked about different things. They talk about how panic took over when Joe Biden's aides, or by Joe Biden's aides, when a reporter was able to get through directly to Joe Biden on his private phone, how they cut off that number. It touches on topics like what Barack Obama and President Donald Trump spoke about at Jimmy Carter's funeral service. And then, of course, why one of the interviews that Kamala Harris did during the campaign was dumped. I haven't talked about that much, but there was an interview where she went on a podcast, and the podcast, it was so bad. The interview was so bad, the podcast didn't even air. Now, there is more about how Minnesota Governor Tampon Tim Walz got picked as her running mate. Now, a lot of people assumed in the beginning that, Josh Shapiro was the the in. And let's face it, I mean, Josh Shapiro definitely would have been a much better pick. But unfortunately, Kamala, of course, Kamala didn't really, she didn't really click with Shapiro. And the book claims that Shapiro came off as overly ambitious, pushing Harris to define what his role would be. Well, she's an idiot, so of course you can't really ask her a question like that because she's not going to be able to mention it. Shapiro also pointed out and reportedly conceded that it would not be natural for him to serve as someone's number two. And of course, that left Harris with a bad impression about that. They also explained that Walz was deferential, showing no interest in himself, and flatly denied any interest in running for president. Well, they also knew, apparently, that Shapiro was going to be an issue with the progressives, many of the progressives that are on the far left, meaning the ones that are the anti-Semitic, Palestinian-supporting far left. And so they flagged some of his comments, some of Shapiro's comments about the Israeli-Hamas conflict and the protests that are there. So, you know, obviously they were cognizant of the fact that much of the Democrat Party, or the progressive wing, declared war on Shapiro, which again, this is, I'm just telling you this out of the book. I mean, we pretty much already assumed that Shapiro wasn't going to be picked because he was a supporter of Israel and he's actually Jewish. And there's no way that a Jewish person is going to attain any position of power within the Democrat Party as it stands today. Okay. So they obviously were quote unquote vetting him by looking at some of his comments and everything else. Is part of the reason why I would probably never get picked, because yeah, I'm an outspoken, very opinionated and very hard-headed kind of individual. But anyway, Walz apparently, so they essentially gathered Shapiro, Walz, and Senator Mark Kelly and went to Harris's residence for an interview, according to the book. And according to the book, Walz was basically nervous about the whole thing. And he essentially told Harris, quote, "I would understand if you went with someone else because I'm really nervous about the debate and I don't think I'll do well." The vetting team apparently didn't fully appreciate the fact that he has a tendency to misspeak and that his folksiness sometimes slides into factual imprecision. Factual imprecision. In other words, he ends up lying. So anyway, yeah, the debate, of course, we now know was a disaster. His factual imprecision made him a laughingstock and an anchor that continued or contributed to sinking the campaign. Now, Kamala, no, she went with her gut on the decision. Yeah, that tells you how smart she actually is. She went with her gut. So the book claims that her team told her that they couldn't say that picking Shapiro would deliver Pennsylvania, and Representative Nancy Pelosi was recommending Walz because they thought that he could help with men. Yeah. Tampon Tim is going to help with men. Yeah, I don't think so. Anyway, talk about a bad freaking decision. I mean, oh my gosh. They also thought that he was going to help with getting white voters in the blue wall states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Yeah. apparently there was also another big problem with that Democratic operative Julian Epstein observed. I don't know if there's any relation. But anyway, Julian Epstein told Fox News Digital shortly after the election the choice of walls was only one of many disastrous mistakes, but symptomatic of one larger problem. The Democratic Party leadership is too scared to say no to the hard left progressive wing of the party. Yeah. There you go. So, sure. By the way, too, this is part of the reason why there's still people in the Democrat sphere that are, excited about people like the New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani, that they're continually embracing radical agenda on things like illegal aliens and the other 80-20 issues. Folks, the Democrat Party has been co-opted by the progressive wing. The progressives like the AOCs, like the new So Fresh, So Face, Jasmine Crockett. The Democrat Party is going to continue to veer hard left. And so if you are a moderate, even if you're not a Republican or a conservative, if you're a moderate liberal, there is no place for you in the Democrat Party. There is no place for you at all. And by the way, there is a report that the one and only reason that Kamala Harris actually picked Tim Walz is because he picked Diet Mountain Dew as one of the answers to the questions for the candidates. Yeah, it is whatever. These people are so lost. They really are. And if you're a part of the Democrat Party right now, man, let me tell you, you are a moron. You need to get away from these people. It shouldn't be the Republican Party that's facing a possibility of a third party. It should be the Democrats. Because they're stupid. They literally are as dumb as what you think they are. Well, that doesn't stop them, by the way, from mucking up the works. And they do this, of course, because of the legal lawfare, and they run around and they shop around, and because the Supreme Court hasn't bothered to put forcefully in writing that these Democrat district judges cannot do things like what they are doing with these universal injunctions and such. But here's another problem. So in the Federalist, there's this article. Democrats collude with judges to keep allowing non-citizens to vote in U.S. elections. Again, this is an 80-20 issue. This honestly is an 80-20 issue. It's an 80-20 issue, meaning that most people agree that voter ID is a security mechanism. It helps to secure our federal elections from illegal aliens voting. And this is the thing. They are sitting here and they're talking about this new election integrity order, which is Executive Order number 14248, which was signed on March 25th of 2025. It's titled The Preserving and Protecting the Integrity of American Elections, and it addresses key election integrity deficiencies involving voter eligibility, ballot fraud, foreign interference, and accountability for wrongdoing. Now, it also implements some sorely needed mechanisms to assess the accuracy of the voter rolls and the security of voting machines. But it was immediately challenged. 19 attorneys general filed a complaint in Massachusetts, while 4 top Democrat Party organizations filed their complaint in Washington, D.C., along with 3 other civic groups. all of them are similarly challenging certain parts of the election EO with only slightly different arguments. First one is the constitutional argument, where they say that the president's constitutional power regarding elections is null and void. And in this one, yeah, they have a bit of a case here, I would think. They are arguing that elections are under the exclusive jurisdiction of the states, according to the selective reading of Article 1, Section 3 of the Section 4, my bad. Article 1, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution. The plaintiffs fail to acknowledge the other sentence, just like they fail to acknowledge subject to the jurisdiction thereof in the 14th Amendment. They fail to acknowledge the fact that Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations except as to the place of choosing senators. So again, I point out that there is a shared responsibility between the state and Congress, but that once again, Congress could, by legislation, make or alter any kind of regulations that they want with regards to this, including things like the SAVE Act, which is the Voter ID Act. Okay? Thus, Congress, they say, has the ultimate jurisdiction over federal elections. Now, that particular clause created the National Voting Rights Act of 1965, the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, and the Help America Vote Act of 2002. But yet they are still arguing that the states are the ones that have most of the power, which they do right now, but that Congress could change that by, at least in the federal elections, by creating this. And in fact, somebody could even say that the states don't even have the control of choosing the senators anymore because of the fact that we no longer choose our senators from the state legislatures. That was given up by one of the amendments of the Constitution. So, yeah. Anyway, Article 2, Section 2 explains the general power of the president by saying that he shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Again, like I said, the president can only execute the laws. He cannot make law. And so this is part of the problem with having things like executive orders. Now, they are also complaining about the idea of proof of citizenship. They're arguing against this. And Washington, D.C. Judge Colleen Kolar-Cotelli issued a temporary injunction on the two provisions that involve proof of citizenship. So, yeah. Anyway, this is something that, of course, is not squaring with federal law, because it shall be, and this is in 18 U.S. Code Section 611A, says that it shall be unlawful for any alien to vote in any federal election. And then it also adds from 18 U.S. Code 1015F, subsection F, whoever knowingly makes a false statement or claim that he is a citizen of the United States in order to register to vote or vote in any federal, state, or local election shall be fined under this entitle. So, wait a minute, 18 U.S. Code 1015F has literally stated that they are not allowed to register or to actually vote in even a state election. So California is already in violation of the federal statute, by the way, because they allow, and so is New York, because they allow illegal aliens to vote. They allow any aliens to vote. So, anyway, they're also arguing against accepting ballots after Election Day. So this is, there's only one, there's there's federal law, Title II, U.S. Code, Section 7, that basically says the Tuesday next after the first Monday in November in every even-numbered year is established as the day for the election. And then federal law itself also provides the electors of president and vice president shall be appointed in each state on election day. That's Title III, U.S. Code, Section 1. So, yeah. Anyway, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals also pointed out that Election Day is the day by which ballots must be cast by voters and received by state officials. Yeah. So they're still dealing with all of this lawfare, judicial lawfare, and everything else that's going on here. They're still dealing with all of this. And it's going to continue until somebody goes ahead and is able to get Congress to actually pass the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act in order to get voter ID passed. And local judges are pretending, of course, that the president cannot order his own executive branch agencies to enforce existing federal law in compliance with his Article 2 power. So this, I mean, again, this is ridiculous. We've had judges that have overstepped their constitutional authority, and even the Supreme Court here recently said that they may have overstepped it, even though they didn't say, and this is part of the reason why I keep telling you, man, this soft language is causing all kinds of problems. They need to get hard with it. They need to basically say, hey, SCOTUS is the only one that can block this stuff on a national level. Period. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. And the SCOTUS needs to grow some cojones and actually do this. Minus, of course, Ketanji Brown Jackson, who basically only writes opinions based on feeling, not based on logical fact, reason, etc. So, there you go. Anyway. So, shifting from this, the Department of Energy released a report in early July detailing the major threats to the national grid system. Again, not I don't know what Coco, the insert name here, is doing. I got the reference to the song, but anyway. So the Department of Energy released a report early this month detailing the major threats. This is something that is nothing unusual. The opening of the DOE report reads something like a start of an apocalypse movie. Oh my gosh. It says, analysis reveals that existing generation retirements and delays in adding new firm capacity, driven by the radical green agenda of past administrations, will lead to a surge in power outages and a growing mismatch between electricity demand and supply, particularly from artificial intelligence, AI-driven data center growth, threatening America's energy security. Basically, what they are saying here is that we're creating too much demand for our existing grid. Yeah. And that the American energy grid is nowhere near secure, stable, or modern enough to survive any of these major potential threats or disruptions. So it basically is just reaffirming what we already know. We need to start investing, or as Buddy always says, drill, baby, drill. The United States cannot afford to continue down the stable and dangerous path of energy subtraction previous leaders pursued, forcing the closure of baseload power sources like coal and natural gas. This was the Secretary Chris Wright who said that in a statement. once again, folks, we can't rely on green energy. We cannot sit here and say that green energy is the way forward. Green energy is not the way forward for us. Green energy doesn't supply enough power for us. You can see this. I've maintained this on this program multiple times. You can see this every time California goes through brownouts, blackouts, the event in Texas during the last winter. Again, the environmental conditions and the weather severely hampered their electrical capabilities. It is only with coal and oil and natural gas that we are able to produce the appropriate power, the energy, cost effectively across all of our grid system. You start adding things like the pie in the sky idea of everybody having an electric vehicle, and now all of a sudden you've got all kinds of problems. Just take a look at California. California consistently says, hey, turn off your ACs at night. Don't charge your cars at night, because what a lot of people don't realize is those electric vehicles actually draw more power than a residential AC system does. So, again, folks, we are not prepared. We're not even close. We're not even close to keeping things going. Now, this report outlines some major threats to our grid, which obviously are terrorism, cyber attacks, solar energy or the magnetic field issues, extreme weather events, load growth, and this one is really this one's the biggest one that can probably be handled the most, because you have projected load growth. Retirements increase the risk of power outages by 100 times in 2030, according to the report. And then, of course, we have outdated tech and tools. The report said traditional peak hour tests to evaluate resource adequacy do not sufficiently account for growing dependence on neighboring grids. So, yeah. Yep. This is seriously a big problem. And, yeah. We need to make sure that we start putting more energy, bad pun, but more energy into bolstering our energy system. And we need to start doing this in terms of a way with whether it's coal, natural gas, oil, diesel, whatever. We need to focus on doing this so that we can prevent catastrophic outages, regardless of the cause, in the future. Alrighty, folks. That is it for me for this evening. I gotta go clean up a water mess. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free, and once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit your thumbs up, or if you really want to, thumbs down on the way out. I'd appreciate it. Across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you Monday, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your weekend, and good night, everybody.